Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Sue, the Soggy Stamper. Rain or shine, it's stamping time. This is the third take for my Facebook Live this afternoon. Technical problems seem to keep popping up. Today, I'm going to try showing you how to make two different ways to make a sidestep card. The first one is this one. I'm going to be using the beautiful Amber Autumn suite of products. The stamp set, we'll be using this stamp here, and the die, and also the Grateful for You and You're Simply the Best. I have put them together on a block. Yeah, the Peace, Love, and Joy's on the other side. I only have one of these long blocks. So, at any rate, it works. I tried it. So I rate that, and then the die for that. And then there is a little die in this set that has like wheat, like that. So I'll be using that. Also included in the suite is this gorgeous earth and tone foil paper. I'll be using that. It includes also the what do they call them? Earth and streaked dots. I don't see too much streaking on them, but anyway, they go along with the colors of the suite. And the designer series paper. I wasn't sure I would use the designer series paper, but decided I needed to have something for fall. And so I decided to get the whole suite. It comes with two die sets, two bundles, and then this designer series paper, and I have used it and used it and used it. It really works well. I have used this, I've used some of this, and this even, and today we're going to be using this design. So let's get started. It is a bigger card. This one is 7 by 5. So you have to use a large envelope for it. And I considered trying to do it into a 5.5 by 4 1/4. But if you divided 5.5 by 3, you would have really narrow sections here. And the beauty of it, and it would be short, the beauty of it would be lost. So I went ahead with the big die, with the big card. So you start with card that is 10, base 10 by 7. And we're going to be doing some scoring and cutting. So get out the paper thing. So you're going to score first at 2.5. So at 2.5. And with a paper trimmer, if you have a pencil that's a mechanical pencil, you can just run it down the track. And then at 4 3/4. Excuse me. Okay, so I had my paper turned the other direction when I made my lines. So I'm going to erase this one. I already messed it up. I messed it up my second try on this. That's why I had to start over again, because I got myself very confused. Okay, so 2.5, like that. And you run it down. And this time, I labeled it 2.5. Now, 4 3/4. Well, what do you know? Four 3/4. That is not 4 3/4. Let me double check. 2.5. Yeah, that's a 2.5. Okay, 4 3/4 should be there. not 4.5. These pencil lines will be covered up. Okay, so 4 3/4. Runs down like that. So this is 4 3/4. So you have a section that is 2 1/4 on one side. You have a section in the middle that is 2 1/4. And then you have a section that is 2 1/2. Okay, now you're going to turn your paper, and you're going to score at 3 inches and 6 inches. So set it at 3 inches. And just to the first line, 3 inches and 6 inches. Okay. And then at 8 inches to the second line. So we'll move over to 8 inches. And we go to the second line at 8 inches. Okay, then we're going to, on the end, between the two lines, we score at 4 inches. Just between the two lines, 4 inches, and at 7 inches. Go down to 7 inches. And score between the two lines again. Now, we're going to turn our paper back. And on the short side, place the card on the trimmer with the short side to the top and the 2 1/2 inch one. So make sure we have the 2 1/2, okay? 2 1/2 one. We're going to cut no, I don't think that's right. Oh, before they do that, at 5 inches. No, on the wrong side here. Turn it back over here. At 5 inches, I'm going to score from here to here. Okay. Okay, so we're going to cut on here, and we're going to cut from this score mark here down to the one to here. Gotta get my head in the way, sorry. so I can see. Okay, then the next one over, we cut from this one just part way. From here down to here. Yeah, that's right. Okay, and that's all the cutting. Now let's erase our marks. Okay, so now we start folding, and we do mountain fold, and valley fold here, mountain fold, and mountain fold. So we end up with, and we'll burnish them well. And on the inside, so they lay flat. So you end up with a shape like this. Now it's time to decorate. This will be the easy part. So we have a couple of pieces of this. We have one that is two and 3/8 by 2 and 7/8. And we have, and we have one that are two that are 2 and 1/8 by 2 and 7/8. And so they go into these two sections here. Designer Series paper. I'm going to use this one plain. No, I shouldn't use that one plain. Where's the bigger piece? I need to have a piece that's 2 and 1/8 by 2 and 5/8. I guess a bit. Oh, here we go. I knew I had more than one. Okay, so this goes on here like so, and I'm going to use Designer's multi-purpose liquid glue so I can reposition if I need to. I hate this stuff because it gets all over my fingers, but I love it because you can reposition. Kind of a love-hate situation It also holds very, very well. So that's going to go on this section. Like so. And then these two. And I just love the way that shimmers around the side. When you have a pattern that is directional like this, you got to make sure that you get it the right direction. Okay, now we'll put them onto the card base. So it looks like that. And then for the front section, I have a piece of the earth and tone that is 1 7/8 inch by 6 7/8 inch, and it goes along here. And then I have a piece of very vanilla cardstock that is 1 1/4 by 6 3/4. I'm going to stamp on it first. And like I said, I have the two stamps together. I have already positioned them, and I checked them out to make sure they were straight. And this looks crooked because I didn't get the label straightened out when I put it on. So you always have to check before you stamp on your cardstock. That's one of the benefits of the new photopolymer, of photopolymer stamps, is because you can see exactly where you're stamping. And I love them for that reason. We also are going to be starting with the November new editions. They're going to all be photopolymer. And they're going to be in new packaging. They come in envelopes like this. They're 9 inches by 5 and just a little over 5.5. Let me close this up because I don't want to get any ink in the wrong place. Put that out of the way too. So they come in that size. They have a flap comes out. And the cover is 9 inches, but the stamp sets aren't all that big, but it allows for uniform size, which is great because when you go to store them, you don't have some that will be shorter than others, especially with the dies, because then to close it, you just slide it in under like that. Easy peasy. Now the dies, some sets are going to be big. like this one. And I like to put magnetic sheet on my die for my dies, and I cut off half of the paper. Did you notice that there's pictures showing what the dies are going to cut out? Isn't that great? Love it. Any rate, and then I put over here when the die came out and how much it is, because as a demonstrator, I usually sell when things retire. Anywho, so this is, and I found that 8.5 is wide enough for the dies for these. And I get my magnetic sheets from Amazon. I buy them in 8.5 by 11 size and then can cut them. This will be perfect because I can get 2 sheets, 2 die sets in 1 sheet of the thing. The only thing about it is I think I got 20 mil for this, and I would recommend 30 mil because this bends a little bit, especially with this length. Anyhow, I put them in this way so that the tab, get in there, so that when you put the tab in, it doesn't wipe off a die. And it just slides in like so. And I'm going to be stacking them in a bin like this one, so I can just flip through and see what I want. I already do that with my dies. Okay, so back to the stamping. Kind of digressed there. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to ink up. I'm going to do it down towards this end. Hopefully I will get this nice and straight. Oh dear. Okay, that's why I stamp before I glue. It gives me 2 chances to get it right. There, grateful for you. You're simply the best. Okay, when we're done with that, glue it on to our foil, earthen tone foil. Glue it to my card. There you go. So, at any rate, now I have the image that I already stamped. I used pecan pie. I didn't, could have used the black, but I have found, even with the ink markers, the blends, that you can color with just these. You don't have to use Memento ink. These water-based ones work pretty well as well. And I'm going to use the Light Poppy Parade for the leaves. And let's hope I can stay within the lines. I noticed when I did the sample that it was bleeding a little bit beyond the lines. So if I leave a little bit of space, maybe it won't do that. A light touch is all you need. And if it's not as dark as you want, you can go back over it and add another layer. It's kind of like watercoloring in that sense. And I find this, I love the blends over the markers, which are no longer going to be available after the current supply sells out, and that's because the Stampin' Blends were becoming more and more popular, and fewer people were using the standard standard writing markers. I like this better because than them for this kind of thing, because the others were more dense, so that the shading and the stamps and stuff like that did not show through nearly as well. And it's harder. See, it just went over the line. Ugh. But I'll show you how you can fix that, sort of. We have what is called a color lifter. It does not take the color away, but it helps move it. So you get the cardstock moistened with this color lifter, and then you just kind of push the color back in to where you want it to go. And no, it's still wet. And it doesn't pick it up, it just moves it. Looks like about time to get a new one. But can you see how it's getting lighter? Try it again down here. You can see right along here that even inside the thing is getting lighter, and it doesn't pick up at all. Okay, let that dry for a little bit before I try to darken it where I lightened it too much. So now I'm going to use crumb cake, light crumb cake, for the acorns. I just had to reorder for the first time in a long time markers because the tips were getting really bad. I like to color sequins and stuff like that with the alcohol inks because they stay, and so things are starting to get kind of dried out. Okay, and then I'm going to use the light pecan pie for the stem, the branch, and the cap. Some people like to use the fine point. I like to use the brush point for the most part, but I have less control on the brush than I do on the bullet point. But see how it can flow easily. Okay, now let's go back to touch up the leaves a little bit. I see I missed a couple spots. And I'm going to, rather than haul in my big cut and emboss machine, I'm going to step aside just a moment. And here we are. Okay, so also on the sample card, I put a couple of those things, and you'll notice that the die only cuts one direction, but I wanted these to go separate, so I put one piece. I used these Stampin' the adhesive sheets on it, and I put one, set it upside down with the adhesive up, and cut it. And you might notice you see all kinds of scratches on there and wrinkles. That's from my cutting plate, because I use it a lot. But by turning it upside down, now I have adhesive on both sides, but look, they curl back like that. One's real shiny and the other one's textured. The textured's kind of cool. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see, how do I want to put these? I think I want to put it like that. I think I'm going to pop those up first. Then I'll put these on, because I had trouble figuring out how I wanted it once I got the ones on. So, some glue dots. Stampin' Dimensionals. Get those out of the way. Oh, yep. There, I like that. Then I'll put these on. You can use tiny, tiny drops of multi-purpose liquid glue, especially if your container is well trained. But I like using the adhesive sheets. It's much faster. Put one there. I'll slide this one under here. There. And we are done. So you can sign. There's plenty of room on the back for you to write your greeting. And it makes a beautiful thing to stand on a mantle. Grateful for you. You're simply the best. So that is one way to make the card. It's a little bit complicated to get your scoring and folding done, but it produces a very, very effective, very beautiful card. Now, another way is to do what we call the faux side step. It's a lot faster and easier. I'm going to be using the piece on Earth. It's part of the Peaceful Gardens set suite, which includes the Peace on Earth die set. I'm going to be using the Peace, Love, and Joy, and the Designer Series paper, which is beautiful. Has the doves. This, and the reverse side is that. this and that, this and that, and this. I'm not really fond of the paper. Some of the paper I like this one, but most of it is so dark. And to me, it's not Christmassy at all. But that's part of the purpose of the suite, is that it is multi-purpose, because it's got big hugs for a good friend, peace on earth is yes Christmas, but with deepest sympathy, heartfelt prayers, all the best in your new adventure. So, oh, and in addition to, okay, wishing you and sending and love. So you can use it for multiple situations all year round. The dies that go along are these. The doves, and that's the reason why I got it, and wonderful, wonderful label dies. And it includes some hues of blue flowers, some beautiful ribbon that has a silver edge to it, and this embossing folder, which the dies fit into perfectly. So we're going to be using that for this card. And find my cheat sheet. There we go. So the base, card base, is 8.5 by 5.5, and we score it. You gotta have the long thing out. Get those out of the way. We score at 3, oh, score. Where did my score tab go? There it is. Make sure it's going the right direction. So we score 3, 6, and 7, and a 4th. So we make mountain fold, valley fold, and mountain fold. I'll burnish those in a minute. So now we have this piece of cardstock, which is 8.5 long by 2 3/4, and this one is scored at 4 1/4. And that is all the scoring. Now, it's going to go together. Oh, burnish. It goes together like this. This piece goes over the whole thing. So you can you see how it goes? And it will stand like that. So we'll start decorating. And I'm using the glimmer paper that comes along in the suite This piece is 2 3/4 by 2 1/2. And I use 2 of them. 2 3/4 by 2 1/2. So we can just put that down on that. I'm going to put a dove up here, so I don't want any more. I don't want any designer series paper. So just put that there like so. And this piece is going to go over here, because this will cover it up. See, it'll be like so. And I have a piece of designer series paper. And again, this was directional. I had to cut it a couple of times before I figured out the directions. This is 2 1/2 by 2 1/4. And if you were to put it on here, you would use the same size. Give that a minute to dry. And it goes over here like so. Okay, now the last piece comes across here, but I'm not going to put that on until I have this in, because it's going to cover this base here. So next thing to do is to put the two together. Put a little bit of adhesive down here, being careful not to put it too far up so that you glue it together. And match it up like that. And then close it up. And you put adhesive on the back here. Fold that. Okay, so with this card, you would write your greeting. If it's dark cardstock, you would cut a piece to fit here of light cardstock, white or probably, so you can write your greeting on the back. You could also write your greeting in here. That would work too. So now we've got that part done. And so this piece is 5 1/4 by 1 inch. This is 1 1/2. This is 1 1/4, this distance. So we've got 5 1/4 by 1 inch. And then this is 5 inches by 3/4 of an inch, and it fits on top there. And I'm going to stamp our greeting. Love, peace, and joy. I'm going to use the Secret C. And because I have the other positioned sufficiently away, I can put that on the other side. You know what? I like the positioning a little better. I'm going to just stamp it a second time. I want to leave more room for the dove. There. That's why you do not glue it down till you're through stamping. Now, always stamp first and then cut. Unless you're using a Stamparatus and you've got things set up so that the stamp is going to be exactly positioned the way you want it every time. Okay, then this goes across the front. See how much faster this is? And it's still beautiful, I think. Okay, now I'm going to put, I like these doves, but they seem to be, they should go this way. But I really want this one. I want them to face each other, but I want them to face in and use the smaller dove there. So I'm just going to turn the die over. It makes the feathers look like they're kind of ruffled up. Anyway, so I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive here. And have the dove sit there like that. And then I'm going to put this one up on with Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to put a smaller one. Come on. Down here. And have him like so. And there you have it. I could put some of the other embellishments on, but this is plenty sparkly. This is the Secret Sea glimmer paper. And so there you go. 2 different ways, 2 different cards. Leave a comment telling me which one you like better. I can't really choose. I think they're both great. So thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging in there with me. And I'll see you next Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I just ordered some of the new, well, I showed you one of the new sets that I ordered. And I'll make a card using that. I'm kind of excited about the options for that birthday cake card. And so next Friday at 4 o'clock, I'll come back and show you some more. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye.